Repeat with me. You need to do Hanging Lake. Do it. Cross it off your bucket list. Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Ticket Before You Kick It, your go-to podcast for everything hiking, adventure, and exploring the great outdoors on your adventure bucket list. I'm your host, Alexandra, and today we are diving into one of Colorado's most breathtaking natural wonders, and that is Hanging Lake right here in beautiful Glenwood Springs. So whether you're a seasoned hiker or you're just looking for your next bucket list destination, stick around because this episode will be packed with tips, stories, and everything you need to know about this iconic hike. Now I am joined here with my mother, and she's our most common guest on this podcast
because I'm your favorite.
Because she travels with me in this RV full time, and we've hiked a lot this summer.
We have.
However, Hanging Lake is such an iconic Colorado hike. Everybody's
heard of it.
I've heard of Hanging Lake since I was little. So anyway, first, let's talk about what Hanging Lake actually is. Now just imagine this. A turquoise lake suspended on the edge of a cliff, surrounded by lush greenery, and fed just by a ton of cascading waterfalls. Sounds like something out of a fairy tale, right? Well, that's exactly what you'll find here. It's located just 10 miles east of Glenwood Springs, and this hike is as rewarding as it is moderately challenging, and it just offers jaw-dropping views and a truly unique experience. But before you lace up your hiking boots, let's just talk about what makes Hanging Lake so special and what you need to know before you go.
My favorite part of this hike is that there is a river that you just follow the whole way up.
Yeah.
It's so everywhere you hike, every step you take, you hear water, you see little waterfalls. It's shaded, which is kind of nice, which probably makes this one of the most popular hikes.
Yeah, to have access to a waterfall. I mean, normally you would hike to a river or hike to a lake, and it's so nice because with this hike, what makes it so special is that, the river is just kind of there the whole time, and there's just waterfalls everywhere, and there's these bridges that you cross, and there's waterfalls above flowing underneath you in the bridge to the waterfall below, and it's just stunning. It's so unique, and it is a must-do hike if you love waterfalls. Now let's talk logistics. It is about a 1.2 mile up, about 1.2 mile down. I think I clocked us at about 2.8, but we did explore a little bit more. And the elevation gain for this one is over 1,000 feet. So if you want a visual, it's pretty much like taking a stair stepper up for 1 to 3 hours. Be realistic because it is quite challenging and steep compared to other hikes. There's not really any flat sections. Would you agree?
Yes. So I was sore, and my knee was squawking a little bit, but it was worth it. Just take it slow. The stupid thing I did, which I don't know why I did this, is I didn't bring enough water. So I kept mooching off of Alex's water, and I would just hold the water in my mouth.
Because you're just going up a bunch of rocky stairs, and just so endless rocky stairs and bridges by waterfalls.
Bring a CamelBak.
So once you reach it, there is kind of a tough section right before you hit the actual waterfalls. Remember, then there's like that cliff right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of go up these little rock faces, and then you'll have a beautiful photo opportunity, as if you haven't had enough photo opportunities on this hike. But you go, and it's just the entire canyon, and it's just beautiful.
Oh yeah, everyone should do this hike. It's really not difficult. It's not one of those you need equipment for, just bring a CamelBak and just take it slow, but it is worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Yeah, well then let's transition to that. What would you recommend to bring on this hike?
Water? Yeah.
She said water.
So I would just, good set of hiking boots, definitely bring poles.
I think the poles would be useful for going down, because keep in mind, you might be going up a stair stepper, aka a bunch of rocky steps, for however long it takes you to ascend over 1,000 feet and over a mile.
So it was just nice stability. I mean, I had my knee replaced, and so it was just comforting knowing that they were there, and it was easy when walking on rocks to use them. Actually, I used them up and down.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is I was like, you might be going up, but you still have to come down those stairs.
Definitely needed them on the way down.
So the poles, I think, would be useful the most for going down, just for stability, because, your legs are a little tired, and you're up there just relaxing, and then you have to go back down. This is the beauty of hiking. What comes up must come down.
I hate that rule.
Hate that rule. So I would recommend bringing snacks, maybe a CamelBak, some good sturdy hiking shoes, some poles,
Headband. We went in the middle of summer, so it was a little bit sweaty.
Headband. I do have a guide to Hanging Lake, as with everything, and I also have a YouTube video on Hanging Lake. So if you want to see the pictures of these waterfalls,
amazing,
and everything, I will link both the YouTube video and the guide in the show notes so that you can check that out. And another thing that if somebody hasn't told you, you need to know is that when you get to Hanging Lake, right before you get to the actual lake part, there is a sign for Sprouting Rock. It's a little bit more of a hike, but it is 100% worth it. There's literally 2 waterfalls that are cascading just down. Do you remember Sprouting Rock?
Yes, it was such a little surprise. Be sure you do it.
More waterfalls. So those ones are more high and powerful. And then once you get to the actual Hanging Lake, that's more like a lake with that green turquoise water. It's really, really green and turquoise.
It's green. Is it the algae? Is it the...
I know that they have dissolved carbonate, which is deposited on the shores that flows from the waterfalls. And unfortunately, because of this, you can't swim in it, just because all of the body lotions, the oils, and even our skin cells can stop the deposition of this mineral. So it was kind of disappointing, especially because I'm a mermaid and this would be so epic to do in a mermaid tale. However, I'm happy to preserve Hanging Lake. Now let's talk about another point that needs to be talked about, and that is the permits. Normally the summer time is the best time to get a permit. I'm gonna be honest, I've never actually found a way to get a winter permit. I know you can, but every time I've looked, it's just been super confusing. So somebody else can tell me how to get a winter permit for Hanging Lake, but that seems so sketchy. You would need crampons and poles and a pickaxe. And so just go in summer. The peak summer season is about from May to the end of September. And you need to get this permit as soon as you can because, as I said, it's very popular. And when we went, we actually had a lot of disappointment because they were doing restorations on Hanging Lake during the weekdays. So we couldn't even get a permit during the weekday. It was just for the weekend. Obviously, this is going to change as they restore the trail. I think it was due to the fires that happened in Glenwood.
Probably.
Keep this in mind because our entire family actually came up to visit us in the RV and couldn't get a permit because we didn't realize, we thought it was just normal business as usual. You could get a permit any day, but nope, it was just on weekends and we could not take them to Hanging Lake, which was really, really disappointing, but there is also next year. As far as best time to hike this, in the morning, because of 2 reasons. One, if you are hiking in the heat of summer, Colorado's hot in the summer, and although it is shaded, it's still hot. And also, something magical happens in the afternoon, and that is thunderstorms in Colorado.
Ah, yes.
And so when we were actually there, they told us that they were on severe thunderstorm watch. And they said, you guys will probably be done in time, but just know that there's a guy that actually runs up the trail, and as he's running up the trail, he sounds the alarm, and wherever you are, when that alarm is sounded, you have to turn around. And I've done this several times, and I've never had that happen, where they've actually given us a thunderstorm warning. Luckily, we were fine. We didn't hit any thunderstorms, but yeah.
So just start in the morning, avoid all that fun.
Yes, avoid all that fun. So you might just ask also how to prep for a Hanging Lake, and honestly, I would suggest doing the stair stepper. I know that I made a joke about that, but I feel like that would really strengthen your quads. The only other thing is that it's like doing a stair stepper at high elevation, so keep that in mind. There were a couple people struggling. However, I think for my Colorado natives, compared to a 14er or something like that, for those of you who don't know, that is a mountain that is above 14,000 feet. Us Colorado locals really love conquering them. So compared to a 14er, this is super easy. This is very, very easy. I did this hike with a bunch of fit Colorado locals, and I don't think they even broke a sweat. However, if you are not used to the altitude, you could be totally physically fit and an athlete, but altitude is a nasty beast sometimes, and it hits all of us sometimes, even us locals. So just be careful. If you do start to get altitude sickness, stop where you are, rest, descend, call for help if you need, drink plenty of fluids. It's really something that you shouldn't mess with, and it can cause a lot of issues. Which is funny, my uncle's, her brother, his friend was a rescue person for high altitude rescues, and he said it happens all the time.
Oh yeah. Don't meet the rescue staff. Just take it easy, drink a lot of water, maybe acclimate for a day or two before you try anything strenuous. But it's worth it.
It's totally worth it. Now, really quickly, let's talk about the parking situation. I'm pretty sure this is why they actually have the permits, is because parking is a little weird. We got lucky. We had the truck, the big, huge truck, and we did fit into a parking spot. However, it was just a little tight. So if you do have a smaller car with you, I would opt to bring that. When I went the first time, we had a truck, and they made her parallel park the truck.
Ew.
Ew. And then let's just quick talk about what to do after you hike Hanging Lake, because if you are not familiar with Glenwood Springs, again, I have a bucket list for Glenwood Springs of all the things to do.
Glenwood Springs is one of my favorite towns.
But there's something in Glenwood Springs that would be perfect to do after a hike, and that is the spas and the hot springs. It's called Glenwood Springs for a reason.
Yes, not only is it gorgeous, the downtown shops could not be cuter, and it's all about Iron Mountain.
Oh yeah, talk about Iron Mountain. This is our favorite hot springs in Glenwood.
Maybe Colorado. It's fantastic. So it is just a series of different hot spring, hot tubby kind of like things. And each one is at a different temperature, which makes it very fun. And it's right on a river, so you can see the mountains. Great to go at sunset. And you can just see what temperature your body likes the most. And they did just open an adults only section this past summer. So we have not done that one yet, but Glenwood's it's worth it. So Hanging Lake and the hot springs.
If you don't want to get wet, but you still want to feel that heat, there are vapor caves also, and it's actually one of the only naturally occurring vapor caves in North America, and it's the Yampa Vapor Cave. So again, I'll link it in all of the show notes and everything for you to go to, but there's a lot of relaxation that you can do. So you might push yourself physically during Hanging Lake, but at least you also have ways to rejuvenate your body afterwards. And also, I just looked up, and my Apple Watch actually said that I climbed an equivalent of 74 flights of stairs on this hike. 74.
That's probably why I was sore.
That's probably why you need a hot springs afterwards. But yes, all the views in Glenwood, the views are beautiful. You actually drive through Glenwood Canyon to get to Hanging Lake.
Glenwood Canyon.
And Glenwood Canyon's one of my favorite drives in Colorado. So you will be in for such a treat if you enjoy this hike. Now, quickly, before we wrap up this episode, let's just talk about getting here. This is about a 2.5 hour drive from Denver. It's about a 3 hour and 8 minute drive away from Denver International Airport. I think it would qualify as a day hike. However, I would probably recommend that you stay in Glenwood for at least a day, because I think it would be a little tricky to do this and drive 6 hours back to Denver. If you are coming from Denver, it can be found directly from I-70 exit 125. Very easy. Literally says Hanging Lake directly on there. And if you do need recommendations for where to stay in Glenwood, we've literally gone here year round and stayed so many places. I think my favorite place that I've stayed is Hotel Colorado.
Absolutely.
Like presidents and mobsters and everything has stayed here. And funny story, we actually stayed there one time with my rabbit. Like my bunny was just like hopping around, and we were in this old hotel watching a horror movie because my mom loves horror movies and I love my mom, so other than that, I do have an entire guide on the Glenwood Springs KOA, which is kind of like 20 minutes away from Glenwood Springs. But if you do have an RV or you want to tent camp, you can also check that out on the show notes. But this is one that you do need to look at the show notes, because you need to see the pictures of this. And I guarantee you they will inspire you to add this to your bucket list.
Absolutely.
If you see these pictures. I did get a few mermaid pictures there, not in the water, but just on a rock by the water and by these waterfalls, and they did not disappoint.
They did not.
It was an epic mermaid location for me, the bucket list mermaid. I'm called the bucket list mermaid for a reason. You can use your imagination. So, last question for you, Mom. Is Hanging Lake worth it?
Oh, absolutely. The Fat Mama gives it a thumbs up. It was a little bit interesting for me to do with my knees.
We also had sciatica.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sciatica. Wow, getting old sucks.
She did this with a knee pain and sciatica. So if that gives you some inspiration,
worth it
to do it. Worth it.
Absolutely worth it. Bring water.
Absolutely. Bring water. Even though it's a little crowded at some times, at least the permits
it's still worth
that. Still worth it. If you are an avid hiker and you love waterfalls, this is a negotiable. You need to do this hike. Repeat with me. You need to do Hanging Lake. Do it. Cross it off your bucket list. So what are your thoughts? Would you do hanging lake? Would you actually add this to your bucket list? Definitely make sure to head over to my website, thebucketlistmermaid.com, or on social media at thebucketlistmermaid, and tell me your thoughts. If you do end up checking this off of your bucket list, I want to see your pictures. I'm an aesthetic photographer traveler. I love the pictures. So please send me your pictures of hanging lake. I want to see them, and I want to congratulate you on doing such a short but strenuous hike. If you did like this podcast and you found this information helpful from these quirky Colorado hiking locals, definitely just make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform or head over to thebucketlistmermaid.com and find more adventures there. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time on Take It Before You Kick It.